Directed by John Colatsera, and highlighting an exceptional lead execution by Dwayne Johnson, the spiky and glorious Dark Adam is one of the most mind-blowing DC hero movies to date. This story of a miserable, apparently vindictive god who returns in a long-involved Center Eastern country dismisses the vast majority of the decisions that boring even the great sections in the class. For its most memorable third, it presents title character, a hero tested an oppressive lord millennia sooner, as a startling and mysterious power with an endless hunger for obliteration. Known by his old moniker Teth-Adam, his reappearance from a desert burial place demonstrates both a supernatural occurrence and a revival for individuals who petition God for somebody to shield them against corporate hired fighter hooligans who have persecuted them for quite a long time and strip-mined their territory. All through the remainder of its running time, Dark Adam inclines toward the certainty of Adam's development toward hero status, consolidating the change of the title character in the initial two Eliminator films. There are even comic pieces where individuals attempt to show Adam mockery and the Geneva shows. Dark Adam, then, at that point, blends in bits of a macho wistfulness that used to be normal in old Hollywood dramatizations about recluses who expected to engage in a reason to reset their ethical compasses or perceive their value. However, the sharp edge that the film brings to the early pieces of its story won't ever dull. Adam at first appears to be as a very remarkable strict as well as a non-literal power of nature as Godzilla and different monsters in Japanese kaiju films. It's at first hard for individuals in Adam's way to know if he's great, evil, or simply unconcerned with human worries. One thing's without a doubt, everybody believes Adam should assist them with forestalling a crown manufactured in damnation and imbued with the energy of 6 devils from being put on the head of somebody in Intergang. A worldwide corporate/hired soldier consortium whose interests are addressed by an unscrupulous charmer, Marwan Kenzari. Many years prior, Humphrey Bogart played a ton of negative men who demanded they weren't keen on causes, then, at that point, adjusted their perspectives and waged war against debasement or oppression. Watchers actually love that story, and Johnson has refreshed it commonly during his profession, generally as of late in Wilderness Voyage, in which he played a person demonstrated on Bogart's riverboat skipper in The African Sovereign. He channels rare early stage acting by Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, yet in addition writer savage exhibitions like Anthony Quinn's Strongman in La Strada, and imbues the entirety with his special magnetism. Dark Adam affirms that he's concentrated on the works of art and carefully chose bits that appear to work for him. There are even compassionate snapshots of disappointment and recrimination that appear to be enlivened by 1950s moral-arousing pictures like On the Waterfront. The last option are generally set off by 3 non-military personnel characters who appeal to Adam's assumed intrinsic, however lowered, goodness. One is Adriana Tomaz, Sarah Shahi, a college teacher, obstruction contender, and widow of an opposition legend who was killed by the colonizers. Another is Adriana's happy and dauntless child Aman, Bodhi Sabangwi, who hurtles around the besieged-out city on a skateboard that appears to have however many optional purposes as a Swiss armed force blade. And afterward there's Adriana's sibling Amir, entertainer Muhammad Amr, who brightens up a standard-issue hardy everyman job, some way or another. However, the content by Adam Steichel, Rory Haynes, and Saurabh Nashirvani opposes the impulse to flounder in unmerited opinion. Nor does the film demand, notwithstanding the proof, that Adam and the superheroes brought into to go up against him, Aldous Hodge's Hawkman, Noah Centinio's Particle Smasher, Quintessa Swindell's breeze-controlling Twister, and penetrate Brosnan's aspect-jumping and visionary Dr. Destiny, are magnificent individuals who have unadulterated thought processes and consistently have good intentions. In discussions about inspirations and strategies, no one is altogether correct or wrong. The film's edge comes from its assurance to live in moral hazy situations as long as it can. It additionally comes from the brutality, which is introduced as the unavoidable consequence of this character's desires and obligations, instead of being related with a specific code or reasoning. That outlining, in addition to the showers of blood and pictures of individuals being skewered, shot, and squashed, pushes the film's PG 13 rating to the limit like Indiana Jones and the Sanctuary of Destruction and Beasts did with the PG rating almost 40 years sooner. There were a few walkouts at the Dark Adam screening this essayist joined in, and for each situation, it was someone who brought a kid under 10. In decency, they might not have anticipated that the film should start with a flashback that peaks with a slave at a building site getting stomach wounded and lost a precipice, and a kid being compromised with executing, or for the title character to destroy a military with electrical bolts in his exposed hands seconds after his most memorable appearance. Virtually every other scene, including descriptive discourse trades, is set against the background of a tumultuous city whose occupants have been solidified by the occupation. Yet by the disasters that are released at whatever point super creatures conflict, which integrates with repeating scenes and exchange about how it affects a little country to be attacked and involved by outcasts who set their own guidelines and are not interested in day-to-day existence on the ground. Film history buffs could take note of the studio that began the undertaking, the Warner Brothers. Development New Line. It rose to noticeable quality with thrillers, developed by delivering auteur-driven, ready to take care of business kind pieces and dramatizations, counting Threat to Society and Profound Cover, and got into blockbusters with the first Ruler of the Rings set of 3. You can see that heredity reflected in numerous scenes and groupings of this film, which is PG-13 as a matter of fact yet are in soul. Dark Adam quickly declares what kind of film it is by winding in statements from the Drifters, Paint It Dark, the tune of which is referred to in Lorne Balfe's score, and melodic as well as visual scraps from The General Mishmash, key works from craftsmen whose best work welcomes you to pull for individuals who travel through their universes like harvesters. The movie's chief sharpened his commotion chops with Dismay Films, then in adults-only Spine Chillers in which Liam Neeson severely dispatches foes. Call It Sarah causes a PG-13 film to feel like AAR by scaling ceaselessly or bouncing back from the nastiest savagery, yet allowing us to hear it, or envision it when individuals watch from a huge span. He likewise does it by demanding, through activities as well as discourse, that people, even godlike ones, get things done for various, frequently disconnected reasons. A kid's room is loaded up with superhuman banners and comics, and when a hero and Adam battle in there, they consume DC's most unmistakable symbols such that rhymes with scenes of the city's memorable landmarks being brought down or pummeled. Devotion to fundamental film narrating keeps Dark Adam focused in any event, while it's completing 10 things without a moment's delay. The film is loaded with foreshadowings, arrangements, settlements, wins, and amazements, and is loaded up with distinct lead and supporting characters. One champion is Brosnan, who conveys a moving representation of an undying who is fed up with seeing the future and recalling his past. Dr. Destiny takes a gander at the people who can live in the present with a combination of despairing, shrewdness, and jealousy. Another is Johnson, who has genuine acting slashes however lately has frequently appeared to be obliged, perhaps scared, by his rewarding picture as individual's mammoth. He's really moderate while playing a divine being. He takes a ton of his signals from the screen star that the film statements most frequently, Clint Eastwood, yet he additionally appears to have gained from activity legend exhibitions by stars like Neeson, Toshiro Mifune, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and Charles Bronson, who comprehended that the camera can distinguish and enhance faint quakes of feeling as long as you act with the film, not simply in it, and never against it. The pinnacle is a transient second when Johnson tells us that something somewhere inside Adam has changed by looking somewhere new and relaxing his highlights. It's perhaps a portion of a second. Not the sort of acting successes prizes since, supposing that it's gotten along admirably, all things considered here, you feel as though it occurred to you instead of on the screen. The legislative issues and otherworldliness of the film are comparably dedicated and reliable. In any event, when the story plays with Orientalism or consolidates oversimplified Western paradise and damnation symbolism, Dark Adam never forgets about what Adam addresses in our reality: independence, freedom, the chance of recovery and recharging, and a refusal to be characterized by any way things have forever been finished. The outcome some of the time plays like the DC reply to the mainstream society shudder that was Dark Jaguar, presenting a center-eastern bent rendition of the Wonder film's Afrofuturist reasonableness, and allowing setting to sub for any spot was colonized. However, its legislative issues are all the more plainly characterized and less split the difference. Dark Adam is steadfastly hostile to radical to its marrow, in any event, comparing the Vindicators like team shipped off catch and detain Dark Adam to a unified country's mediation force that individuals of the locale don't need since it just compounds the situation. The film is hostile to traditionalist, which is significantly to a greater extent a shock thinking about that the history depends on rulers and heredity. Dark Adam is a standout and cunning illustration of this kind of film, shading inside the lines while drawing interesting doodles on the edges. In its reckless, persistent, overscaled way, Collet-Serra's film regards its crowd and needs to be regarded by it. Dark Adam gives the crowd all that they needed, alongside things they won't ever anticipate.